never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. It's a Friday. Hopefully everybody's looking forward to the weekend and looking forward to another big Saturday in the world of college football. Today I'm going to be previewing some of the games you'll see tonight and tomorrow. Any thoughts on any of them, please feel free to let me know. Before I talk about the games, I have a quick question, and this question is because of the final result in the Clemson-NC State game last Saturday, because maybe I'm the crazy one and maybe I just look at things different than everybody else. But as we know by now, Clemson won the game last Saturday 30-20. But all week long, I've been hearing and reading NC State fans, and they're saying that that loss last Saturday just proves that they're not ready for the big times. And I don't agree with that, because to me, Clemson is just a better team than they are. Losing to a better team, in my personal opinion, does not mean that you're not ready for the big times. To me, being not ready for the big times would be, as good as NC State is, going out and playing somebody as bad as Virginia and losing, or playing somebody like UConn and losing. To me, that is the sign of not being ready, when you play a team that you're 3 times better than them and you fall apart and collapse and they beat you. When you play a team that's better than you and they beat you, to me, that just means they're better than you. It does not mean you did anything wrong. You just lost to a better team. So my question is, am I crazy? And does NC State's loss mean that they're not ready for the big times? They're just not quite there? Or am I right and they just lost to a better team? To me, there's a difference in not being ready for the big times and losing to a better team. I know NC State fans feel that way because this is the best they've been in a long time. They've been a consistent top 15 team now for about 3 years, and they're never this good for this long. But still, losing to a better team, it to me just means you lost to a better team. But on to the games. Tonight, we'll see Nebraska against Rutgers. And the only reason I bring this game up is because Nebraska got their first win without Scott Frost last Saturday. And in my personal opinion, they looked better on both sides of the ball. So can they keep this going? Because the rumor is the only thing holding Scott Frost back was that Scott Frost just about has the IQ of a tree. And that's the reason why he just never made no progress, because he's just not very bright. We're also going to see Houston against Memphis tonight. Memphis is one of those teams that's always just sneaky good. And then coming up tomorrow at noon, we're going to have Michigan at Indiana. The only reason this game might be intriguing is because Indiana has a pretty good offense, so they might be able to hang with Michigan for about a half. And then we have Tennessee at LSU. Now, this game being at noon, to me, gives Tennessee the clear advantage. If this game was at 8 o'clock tomorrow night at the fake Death Valley, I would probably say give the edge to LSU. But a noon game, it's 11 a.m. Central in Baton Rouge, that gives Tennessee the advantage. Not only that, but LSU can't throw the ball. Last week, their quarterback Daniels was 8 for 20, and they put in the backup, and I think the backup was 2 for 6. So their top two quarterbacks went 10 of 26. And against Tennessee's offense, that's not going to cut it. I still don't trust Tennessee's defense, but I think Tennessee can put up 30, and I'm not sure LSU can put up 30. We also have TCU at Kansas tomorrow at noon. Both of these teams are currently ranked. We'll see if Kansas can continue their good mojo that they have been on so far this year. Their coach, Lance Leipold, has already been mentioned at about 3 or 4 schools in the past 2 weeks that have fired their coach. So we'll wait and see if Lance Leipold stays at Kansas or not. If he does stay at Kansas this year, he won't stay at Kansas much longer if he keeps doing what he's doing right now. We also have Arkansas at Mississippi State coming up tomorrow at noon. This should be a really good game with the running offense of Arkansas against the passing offense of Mississippi State. And, of course, Arkansas trying to rebound from that blowout loss to Alabama last week. And I say blowout because, to me, even though if you watch the game at one time it did get close, it was a complete blowout. Bama got up 28-0, and then Arkansas tried to come back, and they didn't. But to me, the final score wasn't as close as the game actually was. Arkansas had one good run, and that was it. And also tomorrow is Texas at Oklahoma. And, of course, this is always going to be mentioned and talked about because they're two bitter rivals. But Texas is decent, but I think they're going in the right direction. And Oklahoma's flat out awful on defense. So that should be a high-scoring game. 3:30 tomorrow we have Auburn at Georgia. Of course, this will be the CBS 3:30 game. This game will probably be over by halftime because the Auburn Tiger War Eagles cannot score. They're flat out pitiful. I know Georgia struggled the last 2 weeks, but Auburn just can't score. And then we also have Texas Tech at Oklahoma State at 3:30 tomorrow. This, I believe, will be a really good game. We'll see how much progress Oklahoma State's defense is actually making because if we remember, last year their defensive coordinator left and went to Ohio State. Now, Ohio State's defense does look better so far, but Oklahoma State's defense looks like they ain't missed a beat. Then we also have 2 Pac-12 teams going head-to-head tomorrow at 3:30. Should be a really good game when Utah takes on UCLA. Now, of course, Utah has the one loss, but that one loss was non-conference. So both of these teams are currently undefeated in the Pac-12. UCLA is undefeated overall. And then tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we have James Madison at Arkansas State. And I'm disgusted because James Madison goes from being an FCS school to being an FBS school, and they've played really good football so far. But because they've gone from FCS to FBS, they can't go to a bowl game for 3 years. And to me, that's a bunch of hogwash. They move up because they're just dominating the FCS, so they go to play better competition, and the NCAA is now making them not go to a bowl game for 3 years. That's a bunch of hogwash. And then we also have 7:30 tomorrow night, Clemson at Boston College. This will be the ABC primetime game. Clemson's actually going to play in the ABC primetime game 3 straight weeks because next week they play Florida State, and that game has already been announced as the ABC 7:30 primetime game. And for some reason, when Clemson plays Boston College, it's almost always a close game. So do not be worried if the game is close, because I do feel like it will be a fourth quarter game. If we recall, last year Clemson beat Boston College 19-13. Now, I'm not saying Clemson will only score 19 points. They might score 30, but Boston College might also score 20 plus. And Boston College's quarterback has now changed the pronunciation of his name. It used to be Jurkovec, and now it's Jurkovec. But we see this all the time. Tony Dorsett has changed the pronunciation of Dorsett 1,000 times over the years. And when Joe Theismann was a quarterback, his name was originally pronounced Joe Theismann. And then when he was in college and they started saying that he would be a Heisman contender, he changed it to Theismann because Theismann rhymed with Heisman. So Boston College quarterback name is now Phil Jurkovec. We also have Washington State and USC at 7:30 tomorrow night. That should be a good game because the Cougars have a pretty good offense, and I still don't trust USC's defense 100%. And we also have South Carolina at Kentucky. Now, the reason why I think this game is intriguing is because Kentucky has not said that Will Levis won't play, but it's looking more and more like Will Levis is not going to play. So with Kentucky having a backup quarterback, this will actually be the first game this year where South Carolina is pretty much going to be even with the competition, so to speak, because they're 3-2. But looking over their schedule, to me, that's where they should be. They played 3 pitiful teams. They won. They played 2 teams better than them. They lost. So we really haven't had a chance this year to see whether or not they've made any progress, because they've either played really good teams and had no shot at winning, or they've played really bad teams and had no shot at losing. And South Carolina, Kentucky is usually a good game every single year. This year should not be any different. But South Carolina fans want them to fire the offensive coordinator. Think he's terrible. The thing I think is funny about that is he was hired by Shane Beamer. So we want to give Shane Beamer a pass for hiring the guy when he was the one that hired the guy. The problem is their offense, the passing game is too predictable. It's screen pass, screen pass, screen pass, deep bomb. They don't try anything intermediate, nothing over the middle, nothing down the sidelines, no wheel routes, no nothing. It's screen, 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 deep pass. So they're just too predictable and too boring on offense. I don't know if this is the McClendon offense or if it is the Shane Beamer offense. But if South Carolina ain't careful heading into next year, Beamer will be on the hot seat because they're an average team. That's what they are. That's what they're always going to be. Before the season started, I said here on the channel they were going to be another 5, 6, 7 win team. That's what they are. But for some reason, this year they expected so much more because of Spencer Rattler. Because Spencer Rattler has all, supposedly, of those awesome traits. And he's a 5-star quarterback, which he's not. He's an average quarterback. But since they were an average team last year and they brought on Spencer Rattler, who's supposed to be a 5-star quarterback, they expected a better season. And they're not getting it, and they're not going to get it. If they lose to Kentucky tomorrow night and lose to A&M next week, they're going to have another 5-7 or 6-6 team. And Shane Beamer's already garnered the nickname of the clapping stare guy, because every time the camera shows him on the sidelines, he's either clapping or staring at the scoreboard, and that's all he ever does. He claps or stares. So it looks like he's never ever coaching because he's clapping or staring. And we also have Iowa at Illinois tomorrow night. Illinois is a 3-point favorite in that game, but of course we know Iowa has no offense at all, so that game might be 14-10. And then 8 o'clock tomorrow night we have Texas A&M at Alabama. I would love to see a good game. Maybe we'll get one. We know that Jimbo Fisher runs the most prehistoric offense you ever seen. But if you recall, last year their offense was average. But when they played Alabama, that was the one time in the entire year that their offense was explosive. So maybe this year will be the same, and tomorrow night they'll put up 40-plus points. But they can't throw a forward pass, so I'll be surprised if that happens. And we also have Florida State and NC State tomorrow night. Of course, NC State trying to bounce back from their loss to Clemson last week. And Florida State needs to win because after their hot start, they lost to Wake Forest last week. And, of course, they're going to be an underdog against Clemson next week. So Florida State might go from 4-0 to 4-3 in a 3-week stretch. Either way, they are still getting better. Any thoughts on any of these games, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Did you hear they arrested the devil? They got him on possession. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.